Jesus Christ, that remix is strange. Welcome everyone. This is me. And this is my stream. And this music was mixed by not other but Jacko. Hi Jacko, what's up?
Oh, not much. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I am doing quite well. Although, I should actually say this off the bat. I don't know how in the loop you've been, but I went through a small, tiny name change recently, which I'm still getting used to myself.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's changed in Discord, so you know. Even our channel has different name.
Yeah, I've tried to change everything everywhere.
So let's keep it simple then. Hi Jacob, what's up?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Still fine.
And we are listening to your remix of Submachine Music in the background. I have a question for people in chat. Can you hear us well, both of us? Me and Jacko and Jacob and his music in the background. This is the first time we're doing it, so we are not sure about the levels, audio levels. That's great to hear. I can make my bit louder.
I'll just say random stuff in the meantime.
You don't have to say random stuff. You can say all your questions that we've been, you know, boiling up inside of you.
For the I forgot. Yeah, we do that sort of thing.
Yeah. But let's keep it, you know, let's do this at the end of the stream.
Okay.
Because there is a reason why I brought you here today. Not only you, but everyone to this stream. I wanted to show you. I wanted to showcase my development process in Game Maker Studio that I've been making in few days time. I want to say, because it's not so simple, you know, just to sit down and create something from scratch without preparation. So the thing is, if you've been thinking that I've been doing nothing for the entire summer, that's not true, because I've been preparing to do this mentally and kind of preparing myself and learning the software and such. And in the last few days I've made a really giant progress, and I wanted to show you this. And there are a few things, and I don't know where to start. Let's start at the beginning, I guess.
What better place to start?
Yeah. As you can see, I already have a folder with photos for the gnomes in 2019. 2018 is almost ready.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we'll start, I guess. The first engine I want to show you is for 10 gnomes. Let's just take a look at it.
It's cool that you're starting off with Game Maker stuff, because actually I've also downloaded Game Maker Studio 2, yeah, the one that's up right now, and I haven't had any time to play around with it. I got started on like one tutorial, but
yeah,
I'm thinking of doing stuff with it in the future. So just the fact that you're showing these, that you're going to be showing these sort of results of what you've been doing is going to be very inspiring for me as well.
listen, 2 years ago when I was switching from Flash to something else, and I had to, you know, choose between this and Unreal and Unity, I made a choice to go into Game Maker, and it was like a shot in the bullseye, because this software is just perfect for me and for what I do. Maybe not for everyone, but for my, you know, style of creating games, this is the perfect tool. It's mainly for 2D games, and it handles drawn graphics and sprites very well, so I can, you know, retain my style without any, let's say, changes from what's been before.
And how is the sort of, because you have to develop separate, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but you develop separate engines for each of your game series, right?
Well, yes,
sort of like frameworks.
Yeah, there are frameworks, but I call them primers. But they kind of branch out. I can show you, for example. This is the game primer, which has like all the essential startups for every game, like menus and basic functionality. The 10 noms is a bit different. There's the submachine, and there will be another called probably the float or PNC engine, because submachine and a normal PNC they kind of work differently, because in normal PNC you just jump from picture to picture, right, and from location to location, and in submachine there is this transfer between rooms. So this dictates that submachine engine has to be built completely differently, and it's based on a camera view and how we move it around, and normal PNC doesn't have to have it. Let's see the engine for gnomes, because this is the easiest stage of point and click. So you can see you only move from location to location.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, there it is. But by the way, the stream lag is incredibly tight. I'm thinking maybe it's like only like 15 to 20 seconds. So yeah, that's cool. That's gonna help things a lot. Just in case you were wondering.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a setting in Twitch, actually. The amount of lag or.
Oh, I wonder if YouTube has something similar, because I've been having like lag times of like a minute, which can be sort of frustrating sometimes. But
so as you can see, this is very basic functionality. I don't know, you know, of course everything I've done is based on what I imagine how it should work. As you can see, we've got different rooms. I don't know if you've been going through this, but each room...
I just had a very, very quick look at it.
Each room, like this. For example, you know, each room is a different view.
Gotcha.
And a simple point and click, as you can see right now, or in about 15 seconds from now. Each view each room is a different, each photograph is a different view. This is how it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there is a probably easier way to do it, but not easy for me, because you can make a room that's really big and just place pictures one next to another and move the camera around. but then it's kind of harder to maintain the buttons for navigation, those pink ones, and it's basically it's easier to control what you can see and how it looks.
Can I just point out really quick? People in the chat are saying that the resource menu on the right is sort of being cropped by the Twitch chat.
Okay. Let me see. But there's nothing for you to see over there, actually.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking, in case people just wanted to see titles and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a lot better.
You've got different scripts that handle everything that happens in a Gnomes game, which is not much actually. This is just basic stuff, really. Let's see this again.
So when you're going through these, I do know that, and just let me know if I'm talking too much if you want me to, if you just want me to shut up and. But I was wondering, are you with the scripting process that you're at right now? Are you doing? Because I know that there's sort of a way to work within like a framework where you're not accessing like the actual code itself, and you have like sort of like templates and stuff like that. And then there is like the pure scripting code. So which one are you working with more right now?
The first one you're talking about is drag and drop, D&D for short, which is kind of very basic and just for, I guess, beginners.
Have you surpassed
which is well, yeah, I supposed that a long time ago in Flash actually. So
okay, good.
I moved straight to normal way of coding in GameMaker, which is, you know, you get blocks of code and you write it all by yourself.
Nice.
So this is basic movement in point and click game. So this is step 1. Now let's see, I want to show you again another primer, which is game primer. This is just basic functionality, like you've seen already in the Gnomes engine. For example, the transition between rooms, where when they go dark and they fade out and fade in, like this. This is, you know, the same as you asked before. It uses the same functions. So first I created this engine, this game primer, and then it branched out into 10 Gnomes, and then it branches out into point and click, and then point and click branches out into normal and submachine. You can go from room to room, and as you can see, there's a functionality that lets those knobs stay turned as they turn them. So this handles like the functionality of levers and buttons and switches and everything in point and click. When you switch something, then you go to another room and you come back and it stays switched. Also, you know, the light stays on. Also toggle the full screen, which somebody suggested that would be a fine idea.
I wonder who that was. Do I know who that was by chance?
Yeah, probably you do.
Because I could figure Sublevel saying something like that.
I don't think that was him.
No.
The man who wants the submachine in 300 by 300 pixels.
Why not go bigger? What's wrong? What's wrong with that?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Skype chat is exploding, just so you know.
Yeah, I see it. The covert front is normal PNC. That's just the normal functionality. The point-and-click engine actually branches out into two branches, which one is normal and another one is submachine, and it has to do only with the movement between rooms.
Okay, I did just think of a question, but I'll ask it when we get to the submachine part.
Okay.
Talking about moving between rooms, so I'll shut up.
Okay. So this is still stage 1. Okay, I want to show you. Let's move to submachine then.
Okay. So the question that I had is, it's not like let's say you have a location and you have the basic grid work of rooms. Are they all sort of like quote unquote pre-rendered beforehand, or do they only sort of pop into existence once you click towards another room?
That is a good question, and the answer is yes, they are all laid out in one room, one next to another. And actually, I'm taking the same route as I've taken when creating the originals in submachine in Flash.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you shared. There was like one picture a while ago when you were first getting into GameMaker. This was probably a few years ago, and you shared a side-by-side of what the scripting looks like for Flash and what it looks like for GameMaker and how similar they were.
Take a look. This is the room for submachine. In a few seconds. This is how it looks laid down. As I said before, those when we are talking about gnomes, those pictures could be laid out one next to another, and the camera could just jump from one to another. But it's easier for me to create lots of rooms and just get rid of them and free the memory of them once we move away from them. Gotcha. And the game isn't cluttered at all, and it's all fine and dandy. But with submachine, it's a bit more complicated, as you can see. Because, as I said, I've been following the same path as in Flash, because I remember distinctly when I was creating the first submachines, it looked exactly the same. All rooms were laid out in one location, and like in time I was able to, you know, add them dynamically. But this is not so easy in GameMaker to achieve, because the thing is that in Flash I could create a single movie clip that contained all the active elements, and right here I can't do it. They are kind of separate from the graphics of a room, from the interior. So it would be very difficult to, let's say, attach a new room and then look for what's inside and attach that, and you know, and sometimes those machines get a bit complicated, and there's lots of variables in place. So it's, for now at least, it's kind of easier to lay it all out in one big giant room. As you can see, this room is this big. It can probably hold 10 by 10, and it's about 100 rooms. And just move the camera around.
So there is a set size?
No, the size I can make it whatever.
Oh, okay.
And the beautiful thing is that it doesn't matter actually how big it is or how many pictures there are, because it doesn't wait on the memory. It works very smoothly. Let's take a look. Works fine.
And you've got your custom cursors and everything too.
Yeah, those are just, you know, workshops, so they can be changed at any time.
Mm-hmm.
We are really.
It looks great even for streaming at, you know, Twitch bitrate or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It still looks fine.
So actually, this engine is the second engine for the submachine that I've created in Game Maker. The first one was a bit different. It used different camera sizes. I can, for example, you know, the room is 900 by 900 pixels, and I can set the camera to be exactly that, and just move that camera around, and it only sees this region of the room. Everything else is hidden.
Right, because it's not picking it up.
Yeah, exactly, and it was a great idea until I realized that I have to have inventory that's kind of below. So this camera can't pick it up. The camera wouldn't see it. I would have to have another camera that's for the inventory only. But then the problem is when you take the item in hand, as I do it right now, and try to move it to the room, then the item would disappear, because this is not the view of this item, this is the view of the room. I don't know if you kind of understand what I'm talking about here.
I can see it now, yeah.
However, this is the movement of submachine, which is kind of, as it is now, it works perfectly, and there's nothing to change to it.
So, with the camera size, technically, does that mean that you could basically put every single room, like squash them right next to each other, and without like the black space in between?
Yeah.
And the camera will only pick up the one room.
Yes, but the thing is, if you don't have the space between them, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, I understand that's an aesthetic thing, but I was just thinking more in terms of just strictly how the mechanics work.
The mechanics work like there's a camera. You can see it over here. In the top left corner, the white box is the camera, and the camera is moving. The rooms aren't moving, so we have answer to the 10-year-old question: do we move in the submachine, or does the submachine move itself? So I guess in this engine the camera is moving and the submachine is staying in place. However, the sound would suggest otherwise.
I imagine that would be a little bit easier for you, because then when you're putting in movements and stuff like that, like if you want the camera to appear to go to the right, you can actually move it to the right instead of shifting the rooms to the left, and basically
exactly.
That's be the opposite.
That's why they are laid out one to another, but because it's easier to move the camera than everything else.
Mm-hmm. So another question that some people might have is, how would loops work?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have an answer to this question yet, I'm afraid.
It'll be interesting to see how that comes.
Yeah, that's another roadblock that's waiting for me down the line. I think that by then I'll think of something. I hope. That's a long time from now.
I mean, you've made it work with games before, so I'm imagining you still have some sort of starting blocks that you can work from.
Well, not exactly, because as I said before, the philosophy of showing those rooms is completely different from what I've been doing in Flash. I could add rooms dynamically in Flash. I could, for example, add random rooms, as we've seen in Submachine 10, for example. those loops were, so some of them were completely random, right?
Yes.
And
Two
with
of
this,
them, I think.
and with this laid out style of rooms, this is kind of impossible right now. But let's wait. I'll think of something.
Okay.
And then we'll do it properly. The grid is 30 by 30 because the room itself is 900 by 900, so they kind of divide nicely, and the space between rooms is quite good as well. Resembles what was in Flash before.
It's amazing. I'm so happy to just see it in this new engine, and with the tests that you've shown us before, how much more smoothly it rolls and everything that it does, and being able to see bit by bit the games actually being ported. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, that works perfectly right now. I was also able to kind of go a step further and create state machines for submachine. The state machine is something that tells you what state the game is in momentarily, and you can see those states in the left corner, the white text in the upper left corner. Navi state says that it's kind of, the room is idle and it's waiting for your input. It's waiting what you're going to do, because you can do at least 2 or 3 things. In this particular room, for example, you can change location, you can go and grab item from inventory, or you can just click something on stage to make it, you know, play out, for example, like those pistons that we know from Submachine 1, which are not done by now, but let's say they are, so I would be able to click them and they would play out the little animation. If you look closely, when I move from room to room, the state changes to moving, and then once it reaches the location, it goes back to idle and waits for another input from you. What you gonna do now? So we are moving and idle, moving and idle. And this is very important, and it was kind of groundbreaking in the development process to have those state machines set, because, well, it's kind of tough to explain without showing the actual code, but it helps a lot. When I pick up the item, then the state changes to inventory, inv, and now we are, let's say those pink buttons on doors, they work only when we are in idle, right? You can move only when the room is idle and is waiting for your input. When I click the item, then we are not in idle anymore. We are in inventory, so those buttons won't work. You can't move. You can't move until you use the item or put it back in your inventory. Then we go back to idle and you can move again. Which is like the originals, but using state machines made it really sleek and nice, and it now works twice as good, and it's easier. If you wanna, if you're going to do something in Game Maker, then don't hesitate to ask. I'll show you a few things that I've learned through those, I don't know, 2-3 years that I've been doing it.
Well, I'll keep that in mind, possibly for the future. So this is something that you're just using to help you in the development process, or is this going to? That's not going to be shown in the final version of the game, is it?
Well, if you are talking about porting submachines to Steam, then yes, this is kind of part of the submachine 1. So it will be shown.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's, for the heck of it, just add one more room. How about that?
I would not be averse to that. So I'm just trying to look through this chat here. I think there were 2 questions brought up. One for if you decided to add a backpack inventory, like in Sub 10 and in the Daymare games, would that have its own separate state?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That would.
Sorry.
There would be states for everything, like moving, taking items, using items, playing animation, backpack, the what's it called? Hidden places when you can find different, you know, items. When you open up like a shop, but it's all free. The shops, for example. Everything has its own state and just plays out a bit of code that's correlated to this exact state and just ignores everything else.
And then I think the second question that caught my eye being going back to the camera, like especially if you were to have things like the Sub 10 ending where it fills the entire screen and the camera sort of opens up.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a way to sort of change like the camera size or however exactly that works?
Actually, the camera, as if you can see it, it's quite big, and it's the size of the entire screen, and the rooms are being shown a bit differently. The camera doesn't show you everything that it sees. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But the camera is basically, the camera covers entire screen, so there will be no problem in, let's say, showing the end scene for Submachine 10. But you know, such animation can be done in a completely different room because there's nothing else going on there, so we can just jump to another room and play the animation, and that's it.
Gotcha. Now, while I'm thinking about it, this isn't related to Game Maker, but is there some sort of deeper meaning behind having it expand to full screen at the end after spending 10 years looking at boxes, or was that just a stylistic choice to finish off the series?
Well, both, I think. The reason was, you know, to show you the feeling of being free, and as you said, being freed from the boxes and seeing the sky for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see, right now we are in a flash. This is a file that contains all the rooms, and they are already bigger than the original. This is this is the Submachine 1 in its entirety.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Okay, let's take this room. It won't work, but let's just the bells won't work, but
So everything is made in, all of the actual visuals are made in Flash, and they deal with vector-based files, correct?
yes, for now, yes. As long as the Flash is still working, then yes, because it gives the distinct, you know, look to Submachine, and I don't wanna I don't want to lose it for now, but once it goes away entirely, or not, we don't know yet. If I'll be able to create just the graphics in Flash, that I'll keep doing it, and if not, then I'll move to something else.
Mm-hmm. Does Game Maker have vector capabilities, or does it work with pixels?
No, it works with PNG files, and it's all sprite based. That's why it's, you know, it doesn't matter how much the actual drawing is complex.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't be able to zoom in without losing detail, which means that you'd have to create everything in the actual resolution that you want to achieve right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's what I do. This room is 900 by 900, and this is how it will look in the finished product.
Gotcha. And that's part of the reason why you don't want to go back to the original size and worry about different sizes and stuff like that.
Well, it can be. I think it can be. It can be resized and downscaled by, you know, resizing the window once it's in a window mode. But for the love of me, I can't see the reason to do it. Okay.
Others would disagree, but I find their reasoning not as solid as yours. And they have snap options to the grid, I'm assuming?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I'm trying to sound smart by inserting terminology that I've picked up on in the last, like, couple of months with different programs that I've been working on. It'd be silly for them not to.
And now the all navigation between rooms is just handled by these buttons, which I can just copy and paste, and that's it. Of course, in the final product they won't be visible, but for now, when we are in the development stage, it's better to have them around. Let's see if it works.
So you have these purple hitboxes with what I'm assuming that most of the arrows.
Yeah. Well, they are just to show me where do they point to, which direction are we moving in. So that's why they are, you know, left, right, and up and down.
And it'll always move the same amount of pixels in the same direction, because that's the type of box.
Yes, exactly. As you can see, we've got new room here. That's all it took.
I also noticed that the sort of shadow filter is a little darker than traditionally has been in at least the current HD version of the game, and that's something that is always you've also permanently attached to the camera.
Yeah, that's the sprite of the camera, so we can change it at any time. Okay then, so this was the submachine. This was the submachine, so this was the, let's say, stage 2 of what I've been doing this summer. Preparing to create the engine for submachine. And here's a little thing that I've been doing today. And one thing I can say about this, it's that it's been done from scratch today. So you can kind of see how much work has been done today. And this is the sketch or the engine for the inventory itself, which is kind of the most complex thing about point-and-click games. And this might look familiar because I've been trying to do it to resemble the old float engine, and this is how it looks now.
Bunch of big purple squares.
Yep. But then they change into different things.
Doing well.
You can take them. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, yes I can. Oh, and you put little boxes around them too.
But it
Those weren't there
looks...
before.
No, but you know, it's all like just sketching out, trying different things. The item description is probably not going to look like this, but for now it has to do.
Stream's buffering for me.
So yeah, there's the spoon. And it actually works almost exactly as in my old engine, but there's a lot more that you can do in Game Maker actually than in Flash. For example, when I scroll my mouse, when I scroll up, I can move the inventory right, or I can move it left by scrolling down. You'll be able to see it in a second. I don't know what chat thinks about it. When I remove the item from inventory, it also works exactly as in point and click, because it doesn't disappear. It shrinks down and then disappears, and it looks kind of better because all of the items are closing in on the gap that the used item leaves behind, right? Like that. Now in the debug mode, so we can see the lines that kind of help me to draw the inventory, to see when it's at. And also, as you can see, we already have the ability to remember to kind of save the inventory, because when I turn off the game, let's say
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Everything up on my computer just completely lost the internet for like 30 seconds, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is new. But I think I'm back.
Cool. I've been talking about the inventory. Let's see, when I collect the ID card and turn off the game and run it again, then it will be in our inventory already, so that's been done. The saving of the inventory, as you can see.
Did that say FPS, like frames per second, 4,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the FPS of the game is 60. It's at 60, but it shows the actual ticking of the, I don't know, of the actual frame rate. I'm not sure what is it, but there you go. I'm not sure how it works, but you know, the memory is kind of low. Frames per second are really high, so it's all good.
Well, it's above 30, so.
Yeah, so that was today. That's we are touching. This is level 3 of development, right? Because we had the movement, then the submachine movement, and then I moved to inventory, and I wanted to. This is what I really wanted to show you today, actually, because this is.
It looks amazing. It's very smooth.
Because I think this is, well, 60 frames per second, so you know it will always look good.
Oh, it's beautiful. And this is the first time that we've seen the inventory in 60 frames per second, right? The other things that you've put out before, they didn't have inventories.
Well, if you count the subnet, then you've seen it before.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. So just interested, the way that it's set up now, like you have all the items down in the inventory spot. Is there a way to, like, provided that you don't clear them, could you just add an infinite amount of them?
Well, yeah, sure, but once they are kind of too many of them, they will move outside the room. But it's.
But like, do you add multiple spoons and then they'll just like overlay on top of each other?
Yeah, sure. That's the stacking. That's the inventory stacking. But it's not done yet. So if I add the spoon, it will, you see, go, and for now it's kind of a glitch. But I haven't reached that point yet today, so
there it is.
I've got only so many hours in a day,
Gotcha.
But I'm really happy with what I was able to do today.
Oh yeah, you totally
because this is the most progress I've done in, let's say, about 6 months. I think it was just today. It was this kind of day. We were supposed to go out today, but it was raining throughout the day, and we stayed at home. And I was able to just go and do my thing. And this is how it looks. Looks like it worked, yeah. And because Game Maker handles completely differently how you draw text on screen and how you draw different sprites when you do it dynamically, when they are not just placed by you on the screen, they are drawn dynamically, and they always ask you, or you can set the color of text, for example. Then I sit down and I thought that it would be cool to be able to change the color of the entire layout of the UI, like you have in Submachine. In Subnet you have the light green, but normally you have white, and this is what you can do. You can change it to whatever you want.
And is that going to be an in-game feature?
Yes, of course.
Oh my gosh, you're so nice to us. Cater to our own little interests.
No, I'm just trying to create, a bit of a nice game, so the Steam users won't kick me out and say that it's just an asset flip. Which they might, if I would start with porting the Submachine, then surely somebody would come around and say that those are Flash games and you are just rehashing old things. That's why we are doing something else for now. So as you can see, everything is red right now.
I like the red.
This is the classic Submachine color. Yeah, it's called Aqua in Game Maker.
Gotcha.
I don't know why. Yeah, this is sea red. Yeah, this one's Aqua.
So when you were, because obviously you have a strip at the bottom where the inventory will be, and it looks like a rectangular strip.
No, it's there is no strip. They are just sitting there. If I was to make, I don't know, some kind of background, then
right, but they all fall along a certain line, right?
Yeah. The inventory line, yes, of course.
Is it too hard to make an inventory? Like, let's say you wanted to, I don't know, just for the sake of talking, like some of your older games, the inventory used to be on the left and right side.
No, it's completely possible, but I don't see a reason to do it actually. Right. I think throughout the 10 years of evolution of this engine, this is the peak version of it. But as I said before, if you wanna move it, you can scroll it left or right, and it will stay somewhere. Before that, scrolling was moving it up and down, so everything is possible right now.
So you're just using the mouse wheel for that?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But it's kind of pointless right now. But if I'm thinking, once you have, for example, there's never been such a situation, but if you had, for example, 30 items in inventory, which is doable, and it would span, from one edge of the screen to another, and then you'd have the room in the middle, and it would look not that good.
Right, because you have these two long lines of items that aren't really.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea would be to fade out the items that are, too far to the right or left, outside of the room, and when you scroll, then they come back. For example, that would be one idea to do it.
And you also don't have enough room to make like a second row or something like that. Well,
we do, but what's the point? I'd like to keep it simple and clean, and there's never been a situation that we have, like, let's say 20 items in inventory at once. I don't think, especially since we will have stacking. So if you collect 5 spoons, then it's only 1 spoon in inventory, and then there's addendum in the description that you have 5 spoons. But this was all done today, the inventory, and I'm really proud of it, and I wanted to show you guys what I've been doing, and that I'm not just sitting on my ass. I'm not just, doing nothing, enjoying the sun, which is impossible in Poland right now because we have a very rainy summer, all summer long. Entire July and almost entire August was really horrible this year.
But this is the United States was hit really hard too.
Yeah, and today, right, Houston, the flood.
Yeah, no, we've had different floodings all over the place, even up in higher up spots where the water would usually run down. It's been crazy.
So this is where we are right now, gaming wise and development wise, and creating the submachine engine is something that I shouldn't be doing right now actually, but I can't, for the love of me, just focus on one project at once. I need to have at least 2 or 3 to juggle them when let's say I don't want to work on one, or I hit a roadblock, then I just go to another. And of course the first priority is the big game, and this inventory will be surely used in it, and this is the biggest news I think of the day, that the inventory is almost perfectly done. Everything that's left to do is stacking, which probably I'll handle tomorrow, and that's it. And I can move to then the engine for the big game will be like 60% ready. Gotcha. After that. And in the meantime, I'll probably be chipping away at the submachine engine.
how often does that happen? Because I know that's one of your personal philosophies, that you can't just have one thing going for the reasons that you said. How often does it happen that, like, let's say that you're working on a project and you hit a roadblock, and then you go to a different project and you figure out something during that time working on that project that helps you with the project that you walked away from? Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, that happens actually almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
does that come from the second project itself, or just because you have more time to think about it while looking at something else?
I think it comes from the ability to let go and stop thinking about, the problem at hand in one project. Once you stop trying to come with the solution and just give it some time, then it will come to you.
Gotcha.
What's strange, the same thing I can say about drawing comic books and creating stories for comic books. For example, right now I have a comic book that's coming out next year, and it's completely ready, or I'm just waiting for some people to send me the stories for the book. But now I'm creating stories for the next book that will be created in 2019, for the next Blackie book. And I do it kind of organically because I don't have to, I don't want to, I'm not thinking about it, and that's the way to do it. I don't know if that sounds clear, but when you are not looking for a solution, it will come to you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in some time, for sure. Once you free your mind from constantly thinking about the task at hand. It's got philosophical. I don't know why.
No, that's fine. I'm used to those, and every so often, and I use the term every so often lightly, we'll get into philosophical chats in definitely like the Skype calls and stuff like that.
The strangest thing that almost all streams end up with something philosophical, and me telling you how to create stuff, you as you and all the other people in the chat room.
Well, it seems like it works, so we'll accept it.
This is it, guys. That's all I wanted to show you today. So if you got any questions for us, if you want to ask me something, Jacob, so shoot away.
Well, let me think.
What time? We are 1 hour in, so we can spend like another. You said that you've got something to do later on, so
yeah, I should probably be out of here at the most like
6 p.m.
40-ish minutes.
Okay.
Probably just to make sure I get where I'm going.
So let's say another half an hour for something else.
Yeah, sure. I think if I recall correctly, we look back way back when I was doing the live stream, when we were going over. You released your article about the subnet dilemma.
Yep.
And I think you were the one that actually suggested at that point that we set up a live stream to talk with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a specific reason for doing that, or did you just want to have the opportunity open?
No, I just wanted to talk about stuff. There was no particular reason, but as you can see today, I called you with a reason in mind. So we didn't do it. We didn't do it previously because there's not much to talk about. I know that you guys have countless questions about Submachine, but I can't answer them because the half of them I just don't know the answer, and the other half I probably keep it to myself because I want to show something new in new games. So,
and then probably the third half is questions that you've already answered before as well.
Yeah, could be.
You should make a there should be like maybe on the forum or something like that, just like a giant FAQ board about questions that keep coming up that people as people filter in and out of the forum throughout time that they keep asking.
I've had it before, but the catch-22 is that people who ask those questions don't usually go to the FAQs and don't read them, so they just, you know, shoot away those questions. And even if you have answered them countless times, and if you have a special, you know, section of your website with those, then they are far away from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice question in the chat room. Will you update the visuals in Submachine 1 to a more recent, more detailed Submachine look? And the answer is no.
Really?
No. The answer is no. Maybe I'll update the very fine details of inventory items. For example, I've updated this in this inventory engine. There's, for example, this light bulb from Submachine 2, and it looks a bit different from what we've seen in the Flash version. It's the same. Once when you look at it, you instantly recognize that it's what it is and what it's from, but it looks a very slightly different. So maybe in that way, but I've been thinking about changing rooms and how they look, but the thing is, the first impression of Submachine that I want to give to Steam players will not be the ported versions of Submachine. It will be the new one.
Mm-hmm.
It will be the Submachine the engine in a few years' time.
Oh, right. So
once that hits the market, then I'll move to, you know, creating the backlog, and it will be, of course, all 10 games will be just one game, and it will be wrapped in probably some nice overworld, which will be finally drawn in the new style. I don't know in what software, because it's kind of a few years removed from now, and we will see if Adobe will completely shut down the Flash and cut my ability to draw in it.
That's going to be a interesting day when that comes.
But I've been thinking about updating the graphics of rooms, but decided not to, because I think once the Flash is completely dead and you can't play it anymore, which we don't know if will be true, because I don't know what will happen, for example, with the HD versions that are standalone files that, you know, have the player inside them. They don't need anything from the web. They don't need Flash Play, because they kind of, you know, standalone.
Right.
And I'm not sure if those will work or not. But if they don't, then we lose the ability to play those submachines completely, and they are gone forever. So that's why I think it would be even kind of speaking, you know, historically accurate to you know, to preserve the submachines as they were.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rather than like come out with this new sort of kind of like sub 9, sub 10 visual standard thing that nobody remembers, and then nobody can refer back to what it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So they will be kind of outdated, but I think that consists of only the Submachine 1, which is really basic, and which kind of, when we talk about a Submachine port that contains all the games, then we can consider the Submachine 1 just like the tutorial stage to show you what can you do and what you should do, and learn about the mechanics of the game. And the second one is already kind of more complex and drawn a bit differently, so I don't think that's the main problem.
Yeah, and you also, I remember you made that a specific project to make Submachine 2 revisited when the brick color scheme was changed, and it just had a much more without giving it too much more detail, it seemed to fit a little bit better rather than having just this blatant red all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with the combined submachine, whatever the submachine combined package is going to be, when you talk about combining all of the games, will there be? Is it going to be like a straight thing where it's just going to be you play sub 1 and it's going to go straight into sub 2 and then straight into sub 3?
I'm thinking about some kind of overworld, at least in the form of something that resembles the old Submachine World page. I don't know if you remember it. You know,
I do.
You know the little points that are connected by dots.
Okay.
Maybe something like that. That you go from point to point. When you finish the Submachine one, then you have another one unlocked, and you can go and play. And maybe when you go to the loop, then it looks kind of differently.
Gotcha.
Like you
So
go to the gas
like
cloud, for example, because it's a loop and it's a glitch. Let's say it's basically a glitch in the system. So you can
sort of half menu, half game in itself.
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about something like not in Subnet, but in Submachine 5 when you start off, when you are kind of the lab worker and you have your own room, and you move around and then you find different doors, and one door is to Submachine 1 and another one is closed. And when you go out from Submachine 1, then you go to another one and it's now open, and it's Submachine 2 and so on and so forth.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So I'm thinking about that as well. So maybe some kind of what I said before, that submachineworld.com layout could be, let's say, a map, like I don't know, like in Skyrim when you look at all the location from above, and you just see the shortcuts or for traveling, for quick travel. I'm just bouncing off ideas because right now we are really far away from anything being done.
Yeah, you can afford to.
But these are ideas, and this is, as I said before, this is how I work, because today's ideas are for something that is removed from us like by 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you find a way to title the combined package yet?
No, not yet. Probably Submachine. Submachine something.
Okay.
It's not Submachine by itself, but since the first game will be Submachine the engine, then the should be called, I don't know, Chapter 1 or Legacy or something like that.
Gotcha. So Submachine the engine comes out after the big game, correct?
Yeah.
And is that released, I'm assuming, as part of the entire collection, right?
No, that will be a completely standalone game, and probably will be something closer to, in scope, to Submachine 9 or 10. Maybe not 10, because 10 is
big.
It's big, yeah, exactly. Or maybe I should do it big again, because it's kind of a step up for me to create a submachine for Steam and not like a free Flash game anymore.
But it would still be a spin-off.
Well, it will be a spin-off and kind of start of the new series, I guess.
Gotcha. So it won't be like a Submachine Ancient Adventure FLF32 where they just like these little supplemental things. So it'll have more substance to it, but it's still separate of the main series.
Yes, exactly.
And how would those work as well, as far as just like the putting them into the menu or the overworld or something like that?
Those smaller ones, or the engine is completely different game, right? It won't. What something like Ancient Adventure could be a completely hidden, you know, Easter egg.
Ooh.
Hidden away in some room, tucked away, that you'd have to, you know, find some kids, some secrets, for example. Like when you play Submachine 2 and you collect all 20 red dots, red marbles.
Gotcha.
And then you, for example, have the access to Submachine Ancient Adventure, and then you leave this Ancient Adventure with one Wisdom Gem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might look like this.
So that would be interesting in that you can play certain, like, it's all tied together. You could play certain games and you find secrets without these games to unlock whole other games.
For example, why not?
Do you think it might be possible? I'm just sorry. Now you have me thinking, which
okay, go ahead.
It can go either way, but like at the end of Sub-Zero, you have a Wisdom Gem, and would there be a way to possibly pop that Wisdom Gem into a later game's inventory to use somewhere else to unlock something else?
Yes, of course.
So you could have games that sort of like.
Well, I think
items that go across games.
I think you'd have to have a unified inventory between, you know, between different games. So when you leave Submachine 1, then you go to another room, and you start Submachine 2, and you have those items, right, from before. You have the Wisdom Gem from Submachine 1. You have it, because you need to open the ladder from the basement to the lighthouse itself.
Gotcha. But you'd also have to make sure that, like, let's say you play Submachine 9, that you're not able to take those items out and go back into like Submachine 2.
I'll think of something. Don't worry. Like in Submachine 6, you had to dispatch them all to move ahead in the Edge installation.
Right. Unless, what if you were able to, like, because you don't have a hammer or something in Submachine 1, but let's say that you could access something via hammer, but you don't get that until after you play, like, Submachine 8 or 9 or whatever, and then you could take it back and then unlock. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
You can then go ahead and smash the window. Sure.
Right. I don't know. I'm putting ideas into something that's not mine, so I won't.
No, that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. The Submachine is as much mine as it's all your guys.
Right, but you also have a trend to say if we suggest things to you, then you won't use them.
Well, but you are not suggesting, you know, the very precise things. You are just suggesting kind of mechanics, and that's fine. If you told me, you know, to draw this and it has to work like this, then I would be put off and I wouldn't do it.
Oh, right, yeah. Which is why...
That's the difference.
Yeah. Gotcha. Now that I'm thinking, I did have this, and I don't really want to talk about this too much in detail just for myself, because it's a personal project for myself, and I feel like the more I talk about it, the more time I'll spend thinking about it, and I'm not sure how much of that time I have. But, you know, obviously, I don't know if you noticed, but the Submachine series has been the most influential thing to happen to me as far as online gaming, or just gaming in general. So thank you for that. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Kind of did.
Yeah. And I was thinking about how, you know, I see these things work, and the type of person that I am, I see these things work, and I want to also understand how they work and be able to...
And by these things you mean what?
Well, by these things I mean I could extend that to anything, like just here or in my life, like the Submachine games in general, just what it is like to sort of put a game together. And you know, I've also had a bunch of, you know, I've browsed all of the other Flash game forums and played all of the other RuneScape games and stuff like that. Eventually, and also the college that I'm at, it has a huge game design department, and I'm not sure where my college ventures are going to take me, but that is a very large and real thing that they support, and they have a very large program for it. So I was thinking about maybe designing my own RuneScape game at some point, not tied in to Submachine itself at all, because I know that you have you draw the line at Submachine fan games, right? You don't like those.
Well, no, because there are two reasons. Because first of all, Submachine IP is kind of mine, and I'm the only one who can, for now, do it. But the other reason is that when you create something that resembles Submachine, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot, because people will notice and will tell you that it looks like Submachine.
And that happened with the Abandoned series, right?
Yeah.
And what's your take on that? I'm just interested.
My take on it is it's perfectly fine for him to do what he did, because everything he created was his own. Every bit of graphics and mechanics, that was his own. So I have no problem with that at all. Besides, it would be kind of not only difficult but stupid to try to
replicate it.
Not replicate it, but kind of how to say it. Take dibs on mechanics of Submachine, for example, to say that it's mine, you know, because when you look at Submachine, there's nothing that much original in it mechanically. You just move from one room to another and you pick up items and you use them. There's nothing to it. The reason that it stands out is graphics and story and atmosphere and all those things, and that's fine. But mechanically, there's nothing there. It's just plain simple point and click with moving rooms, which was done, you know, decades ago, like in Monkey Island and in, let me think, in other games like in Apes Odyssey, I think. Anyway, the mechanics are nothing new and nothing, you know, nothing that could be even thought of as a intellectual property of mine. So mechanically he's fine, graphically he's done everything himself, it's also fine, so we are cool.
Yeah.
But the crutch is that you are shooting yourself in a foot, because people will tell you that it looks like Submachine and it feels like Submachine, and it isn't, and there is kind of this uncanny valley that you approach Submachine and you think that it is, but it's not, and people kind of feel weird about it.
And I'm not saying that I would ever try to do something that actively emulates your work as far as, you know, style and graphics and stuff like that. I would figure out my own thing.
That's great.
The first project I actually have in mind is I really want to do something. I've been doing a lot of stuff with this math concept that I've been exploring for a while that relates with the Fibonacci series and things like that. And I have, you know, at least I don't even know what it is now because I haven't opened it up in a while. But, you know, I did download some sort of version of Game Maker Studio. And, you know, at least to just start to get involved and start to learn a little bit of it. A couple of members in the community, I mean, there are a lot of people in the community that have really tried to. I know Tower of Nyx is one of them. He's in the chat right now. He's doing stuff with the you know, the math thing that I was working on, he's been doing things with his own programming and stuff like that. And I've been wondering if there would be a way to sort of put together this little like project in GameMaker, and to give me like a good introduction as to like, okay, well, how to make sort of like point and click menus and stuff like that, and to find a way to just like import sprites and things like that. And then after that's done, maybe actually go on and try to find a way to make a point and click game out of it.
You know, it's all doable. It's all doable, and in GameMaker it's kind of quite easy. They are very forthcoming, and this software is designed with the game creator, game dev in mind. And this is something that I really love about this software, because Flash was never this kind of helpful if you wanted to do something else than, you know, animation for a website or something like that, because that was the primary reason for Flash, and they just kind of expanded the action script into what it is right now. Right. But they never kind of embraced the Flash games development cycle or method in Flash, and you had to claw your way in and claw your way out, you know, out of all the problems that you encountered in Flash. And in GameMaker, I can see that on each stage, when I hit the roadblock or something like that, then I see this helping hand that's, you know, extended to me by the software, and it says, "Come on, we gotcha, man. You can do it, and we made it easier for you." If somebody's actually helping me in, you know, the development process for the first time in my life, because, as I said before, it was a struggle against the grain, against the Flash, and right now, when you are working in you know, game dev oriented software, it's so much easier, and I can't really say enough good things about the GameMaker right now, because that was the best decision I've made in years, to switch from Flash to this.
Yeah, that's encouraging to hear. I mean, not just for you or for me, but for anybody else who is thinking of maybe doing similar projects or trying to get into the game making scene.
There's like hundreds of tutorials on YouTube about GameMaker, and you can actually find almost everything that you need to create some simple game. For starters. And, you know, you create your first game, then your second, then your third, then you look at the code in the first game, you say, what the hell, what I've been thinking, how is it possible that it looks so bad? And with each new game you then kind of, you know, expand your horizons with game development, and it's really, really cool. You really have the feeling that you are learning all the time new things. So I can't recommend it enough for you. If you want to do it, then that's the way, especially that, you know, I can help you.
Well, I most likely will at some point, and I think part of the reason I wanted to ask is, obviously I don't want to infringe on any of your intellectual property, but I can't imagine making a room escape game and not having some sort of influence from your work naturally come out. So,
well, you know, there's a difference between influence, which is fine, and trying to emulate the style of graphics of puzzles, and there is a slight difference, right? So
yeah.
As long as you are influenced, but not to the point that you are trying to copy what's made, you know, my games so distinct, then you're fine.
Okay. Would I have your Like, let's say I were able to take up a project in that time. If I came across something and I wasn't sure, would I be able to consult you for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm in a good spot where I have a lot of, or not a good spot, but an interesting spot where I have a couple of ideas floating around in my head, and it's very hard for me to tell those ideas, okay, I can't talk to you right now because I have other things to work on, but maybe sometime in the future.
Sure, why not? We can do it.
I love the Karma Portal program that you have running on the screen right now.
The shards.
Yeah, the shards.
Look, the Karma Portal is here as well. This is just a file that I call the library, and it kind of contains different mechanics, like randomly blinking eyes. This is just simple stuff, very basic, like simple orbits, simple rotation, movement. If you can see the object that has written free written on it is behaving like the what is it called? The tapes from Submachine 10. That machine that had, you know, those mechanical tapes that were rotating from time to time. So it emulates that. Works exactly the same. Let me take a look. I think I have older version of it, because you know that this is the older version. No, this one. This is it. Because you know that Game Maker released the new version of Studio this year. I don't know, in March, I think. The Game Maker Studio 2, and that was right exactly when I, you know, kind of finally got the grasp of the Game Maker Studio 1, and
right,
to the point that I was kind of able to work in it, you know, without flawlessly, let's say, without, you know, hitting roadblocks. And then they came up with the Game Maker Studio 2, which changed almost everything in it, how it worked. But so I will, you know, I kind of facepalmed a bit. But
you know, it's interesting you say that, because I think you did originally show at least the shard program to us, and I think it was a little bit after that time that I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put it on my computer. And then I was looking and I saw, oh, Game Maker Studio 2 is out, so that must be the program that he's using, right? So I downloaded it, and then I think you came out and said it was like, well, that just happened at completely
exactly
the ripe time.
That happened, but and that was a bit of a roadblock, but only for a second, because the Game Maker Studio 2 is completely not only different from the first version, but it's so much better. It works so much more perfect. The workflow is flawless right now. That's nice music in the background.
Yeah, thanks.
That's Submachine ship location.
Yeah, it's. I remember when I was putting that together and, you know, listening to it through a couple of times, and there's something about putting it all together and having them blend into each other and having them all out of order from how you usually play them in the games. And I also went back through and I broke them up into, I think, like, I broke up the whole thing into like 15 or 16 different chunks and gave those chunks titles. And let me see. Yeah, 18 different chunks, and I gave them titles for that sort of relate to, you know, the whole like submachine terminology and words that you'd hear and stuff like that, but not exactly. And it actually gives me a very different feel, but not too different, but noticeably different from just like the sort of submachine atmosphere.
Yep.
It's weird how that works.
Yeah. Looking at chat right now. Are there any questions? Come on, people. We need questions, because we can talk about all this stuff all day long with Jacob, but he's going to be signing off in the next, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. So that's when we will be finishing, probably.
Now, I'm pretty sure, aside from everything involving Game Maker, which has been completely awesome, by the way, that you just spring all of this on us and show us the inner workings of what you're doing. Like, this is the stuff that I know I at least love to see. Aside from all of that, I do know that somewhere in the depths of my mind, which I can't recall right now, there probably were a couple of other things, a couple of other topics of discussion.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Maybe it's for the better that they're not coming forth right now, because now would not be the best time to get started with them. But if they do come up in the future, would you be open to doing this again?
Yeah, of course. Well, you know, we've done it once, then there's nothing stopping us from doing it again. We got the technology, we know how to do it, so let's do it.
Good. All right, sounds good.
Especially that today I kind of dropped it on your head, kind of unexpectedly, right?
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because I wanted to show off a bit, and I wanted to show you guys that even if you don't hear from me, even there is no streaming, and there is a silence in you know, Facebook or Twitter, there's still things going on. As I said it before, and it's really rings true right now, that if you don't hear from me, that means that things are happening, because that means that I'm so kind of focused on what I'm doing at the moment, then that I kind of live the normal social life and just do it, and then return to that's, for example, how I do comic books. I leave the world for, let's say, 3 months, and then come back to it and see what I've missed in the meantime, all the movies and series and comic books and all the stuff.
So things are rumbling beneath the
yeah,
surface.
Exactly. And, you know, the summer is winding down, and now you can see that we have much progress towards the giant game, the big game, and the future of submachines and other point-and-click games.
Me being a very visually oriented person, I like that sort of metaphorical imagery of large gears turning and being able to hear the sounds even if you can't see them somewhere. So I like that. Vortex did mention the next subnet update.
It's coming. It's probably coming in September, because as you probably know, I ditched the idea of having those updates correlated to Patreon goals, because I don't want to, you know, how to say it. You just
want to make them.
Yes, exactly. I just want to make them. Sorry, I spaced out for a bit. I just want to make them, and right now we are kind of 3 locations deep into, you know, I have to create 3 locations, and the idea that I want to do right now is kind of 3 locations long. So probably September will be another update, and then I think 1 more or 2 more. I don't know how I'll split them, but it will be like 5 left, and maybe I'll create 3 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 5 at once, but that would be a quite big update, and I'm not sure if I want to do it in just one go. but it's coming. It's coming. It's still on my desktop and nothing's changing. I can show you. If I move some icons around, you can see that there is subnet folder and there is the subnet itself.
I do remember there being a tiny bit of talk that was generated and speculation from the fact that you did remove it as a Patreon goal, but and I think some people were confused about that, but in reality it makes sense just on the relating to the type of person that you are and what your philosophy it is when it comes to your workflow, because even though you like to have projects, correct me if I'm wrong, but you like to have projects to work on and you like to be organized in them, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to affix time frames or sort of exterior motivations, because you want to be able to create when you feel that it's good. Do I have that right?
Yes. And another thing, I didn't want to kind of, you know, rely on it being a monthly, you know, checkup, because if it went through or it didn't, because it always, you know, brings kind of let's say disappointment when it doesn't happen, and I don't really need it in my life right now, you know, the disappointment that you know, the few bucks went this way or that way. I'm happy with how it is right now. Mm-hmm. The Patreon situation, I don't have to push it any further than it is. If somebody wants to donate, then that's great, and I'm eternally grateful for it, but I don't have to, let's say, campaign for it as much as, I don't know, other people would have to. I'm fine when I am where I am right now, and I think that actually creating solid, you know, content from month to month and showing that it doesn't matter actually how much money there is. This kind of shows, you know, my philosophy of creating stuff, as you said, you know, all the time, and not based on, you know, money.
Right. Well, the value returns to being primarily and purely intrinsic.
Yes, exactly, and and it's not connected to the monetary value. That's completely, you know, it doesn't matter in this situation. We are still doing the subnet. We are still probably, once we finish this year's project, which is the updating submachine monthly, or creating, let's say, creating one location per month, then it will probably be put aside for some time, because in 2018 I'll probably have the complete engine for the big game, and I already have half of the story in my head, and I probably will be focusing myself on creating the big game and releasing it in, I don't want to say when, because
no, you don't have to say when.
You guys will keep me to it, but you know what I mean. I will be focused on creating the big game in 2018. That's why I want to kind of also push out the subnet, you know, updates as much as I can right now.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, I think, I don't know if you need this clarification or not. You probably don't, because I think you know your audience. But you do bring up a good point that when you give deadlines for your work, we will look at those deadlines very seriously, and it's not because we're trying to. I believe I will at least speak for myself, possibly other people, but at least for myself. Though I do think it extends to other people. We don't do that to try to hold you hard bound to them and then sort of like release our blessing once that doesn't get fulfilled. I think we do it because first and foremost we just want to be able to see you create things so that we can react to them and, you know, share our
feelings
about
well, I get that, but it's still, you know, leaves the open door to kind of shoot myself in the foot again. Well, and I stopped doing that a long time ago when creating games and releasing them. I know the biggest, let's say, challenge of the Patreon profile of my work is that I can't release enough, you know, content, gaming content that I would like to, because it takes longer, and people might see that as, you know, me being lazy and just, you know, taking the money and doing nothing, and months go by and there's not another game for them to play, and it you know, it always looks a bit fishy. But today I'm showing you that everything is fine. I'm working hard. I love what I do, and this is the best proof, because all of this was done, as I said again and again, it was done today from scratch. I didn't have idea how to do it this morning, and now I know it works. So this is the perfect summation of this entire stream, I think.
That's amazing. And you know, your core audience knows you well. They know that.
Yeah, sure, I know. We've known each other for a long time, and I've got nothing but love from all of you guys. So this is very important to me. Still, I'm not saying when I'm releasing my games. Not until I have them like 99% ready. But it's coming along. The big game is really coming along. And that's not secret that the main character will be the seaweed from Demeter 4.
Well, I look forward to it.
That's something that you guys know.
Well, I have to sign off right about now, just to make sure I'm getting to where I need to go.
Okay.
Is this going to be? Are you gonna re-put this on YouTube?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Well, because I know that there are some people on that are a little bit far east that had to go to sleep early, so they're looking forward to watching the rest of it.
Sure.
But thanks for dropping this on my head, and it's much appreciated. I'm glad.
Thanks for responding to me.
Yeah, no, you caught me at a good time. I'm sort of treating today as sort of like a kind of not as busy day, just so I can be ready for classes starting tomorrow. And this will help me more than anything else I was probably planning to do. So
let's just say that today was a good day, right?
It was a good day. Very good day. All right.
Okay, let's finish this up, I think. Anybody, any more questions in the chat?
Well, I'll be signing off just before I guess you end. So thanks again, and take care, everyone.
Thanks, Jacob. Oh, before I forget, guys, I'll be streaming tomorrow as well, but it will be a comic creation. I'll be drawing a one-page comic story tomorrow at my usual time of day, so it will be probably around 10 AM European time. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like the inventory. I can't stop, you know, as you can see, I can't stop playing with it all the time. I'm just like a kid that got new toy. This is the honeymoon period for me with this inventory system. that's it. Now you've seen all. See you later on, guys. Bye.